everybody. This is Dr. Lori Shemek.
And I'm Omar Cumberbatch. You're listening to This Podcast Burns Fat. Hey, Lori, how are you?
Hi, Omar. I'm doing great. Yes, I went to the farmer's market today. I don't know when the last time you've been to one, but it's just, it's been a long time since I went to one. It just is amazing there. Just, everything fresh and organic and all the things that, flowers. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't been to one in a while because the one that's literally right up the block from my house, they do it every
so
Wednesday.
Close to you.
Yeah, but you know what?
Really?
I went and like you mentioned, nothing with organic. I don't know why. This particular farmer
Interesting.
market
Yeah.
is not doing anything like that. But yeah, so once I found that out, I haven't gone. Maybe I have to go check it out and see if they've changed that over the
Yeah.
last couple of years. But yeah, it's been a
You
while
would
for me.
think, right?
Yeah, I mean, people want the organic produce and
Hmm.
whatnot. But yeah,
But if you can't
that's
get organic, I guess, fresh
it is much
is
fresher.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Instead of sitting on the store shelves or at home in our our refrigerator. Yeah.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah. And our guest today, Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, would agree with us, I'm assuming. So we are excited to have Dr. Anthony Balduzzi on the show. He's the founder and CEO of the Fit Father Project and Fit Mother Project. And he just, he's had a background where this pretty much it was predicated on what he does now, and he's a licensed naturopathic doctor. He holds dual degrees in nutrition and psychology from the University of Pennsylvania, and he's a former national champion bodybuilder, no less. But his unwavering commitment to promote optimal health for everybody has led him to successfully help over 60,000 families in over 100 countries globally. So he was a powerhouse of information. I really, really enjoyed him.
Yeah, no, he was terrific. Very, very inspirational and
Yeah.
just had a great background story. Just really learning from his father's untimely passing at a very young age
Mm-hmm.
and really incorporated it into his projects right now. Like I said, it's touching so many different people, and we're very excited to help spread that message as well. And hopefully he'll have some of our listeners take a peek at his work because it's definitely profound. So
Oh,
definitely
yeah. And
excited for
if you're interested, if you're over 40 or not, but you want to lose weight, build muscle, improve your overall health and well-being, this podcast is for you.
yeah, so let's jump into it.
Okay.
Hey, Dr. Anthony, how are you today?
Doing really well. I feel
Hi.
great. I'm ready to rock. Hi, Dr.
All
Lori. Hi,
right.
Omar.
Oh, wow. You are. We're so happy you're here. Yay. Finally. We
Yeah, no,
got you here.
yeah, definitely appreciate you working with our schedules to get this to happen. And yeah, we're just really looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better. So I guess to just jump in, I guess what really inspired you to take on this particular direction after you went the doctor route and you really kind of expanded into this bracket of weight loss that obviously our audiences fits right in. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, as people probably heard from the introduction, I run two
Mhm.
companies that are focused on weight loss. Fit Father Project for dads over 40 who want to get healthy and fit and lose weight, and then Fit Mother Project for the moms. And I didn't grow up with the vision that I was going to do this by any means. Average kid, grew up in upstate New York, loved playing outside. I have a little brother, and what was unique about my childhood is I actually got to witness the firsthand effects of my dad effectively working himself to the bone, doing the best he could to provide food for our family and sacrifice make a lot of sacrifices to do that. But his health was on the back burner and it whittled him down. And unfortunately for him, it got to the point where he eventually was diagnosed with cancer. A brain cancer is what he had. And there was one day where he basically fell out of bed and had a grand mal seizure. And it was just terrifying to see my dad in that kind of state as a young boy. And that began a series of, procedures. He had 2 brain surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation. And I watched my superhero basically get whittled down through this process. And he eventually died when he was just 42 years old. I was 9 years old at the time. And as you can imagine, losing a parent and going through something like that is devastating. It's painful, but it was also like very clarifying for me at a young age, because I got to see that like health is obviously super important. I mean, more important than many people end up realizing until later in life. I realized that when I was 9. And so when I was in my 10th birthday, my mom gifted me a pair of my dad's old weights, and not knowing exactly what I was doing at the time, I started to train. I kept the weights under my bed, and when she'd put me to bed, I'd get out and I'd do some curls and push-ups. And in my mind, I was just trying to become so strong that cancer couldn't get me. But what I was really doing is stoking the early embers of fire and passion for self-improvement through the vehicle of fitness, and realizing that I could do some tangible inputs and get an output. And as I got stronger, I began to heal mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And that led me down a path of eventually competing in bodybuilding and fitness, and getting really into the physical side of health. And I learned certainly how to lose weight, how to gain weight, how to manipulate nutrition and training in a very extreme setting. And it's valuable, I think, to go to the extremes, because you can certainly pare back and find what actually works for like everyday moms and dads. So I went to the extreme. And then when I went to naturopathic medical school later, I just saw people very much like my dad. Not necessarily always cancer diagnoses. It could be heart disease, diabetes, metabolic conditions. But effectively, health was being put on the back burner because busy parents juggling family and life responsibilities. And people were struggling to really enmesh, how do I eat right, sleep right, move right in relationship to a busy life? And I realized there had to be a solution. And it clearly was not just more information. We'd had 30, 40, 50 years of commercial fitness and all sorts of different kinds of diets. It was obviously a mix of like
that
psychology.
People never adhered to.
Right. It's behavioral psychology, right? Which also comes into it comes into play with like our habits and friction points in our lives, as well as the deep emotional aspects of like food is an escape mechanism for us living stressful lives. It activates these reward circuits, much like, recreational drugs. So it's like, it's a deep issue. And clearly when we look around, it's like well over 50% of people are overweight, obese, cancer rates are skyrocketing, heart disease. Like we are having a systemic epidemic issue now. People are struggling to take care of themselves, and the inputs are as toxic as they ever have been. So I set out to do a small part of helping fix that. And I think it's largely in the memory of my dad, Fit Father Project. And I'm happy to say we've run 50,000 guys in over 100 countries through that program. And then we started Fit Mother, and we've had around 15,000 go through that. And I'm early in my career. I want to help as many people as possible go through this like holistic approach to getting yourself healthy, and obviously leading your family to a healthier life too. And it's a lot of the stuff we know. It's a lot of the stuff that people on this podcast know, but we package it in a way, I believe, that makes it particularly sustainable and particularly emotionally engaging, so that when people join our programs, this is oftentimes the last time they need to follow a diet, and they can finally adopt that lifestyle that all of us want to be following.
Yeah, no, that's a really great backstory. And before we dive into the programs and whatnot, I was just curious. Besides your father working himself to the bone, like, was there anything else that he was doing health wise that made you want to say like, I cannot go down that particular path as well?
Well, I think it's like he didn't have any of like the bad classic like habits of like smoking or drinking per se, but he did work like long hours at the office. I mean, there's times he would even sleep at the office. We'd have to bring him dinner and these kinds of things. And where he grew up too, there was a particular area in New York that was not like the healthiest place from an environmental, chemical, toxicant aspect as well. And he just didn't know. I mean, like knowledge is power when it comes to your health and fitness. And unfortunately, he just didn't know, as well as like stress, right? I mean, we know that the pace of our modern lifestyles and shifting our nervous system into a sympathetic state all the time is just going to crush our immune system, age us quickly, lead to metabolic issues. So you just had a lot of those factors. And I unfortunately, I would say, I think the food is even worse now today, many, many years since he has passed away, than it was even at his time, but he could have been eating a lot better.
Yeah, that's true for so many of us. So you created the Fit Father Project for over 40 fathers. Is it
Yes.
just okay? So we know that once we hit 40, everything starts to go south. We start to
Right.
lose muscle mass. et cetera, nutrients. And so, just curious, like, what are some of the common physical and mental challenges, would you say, that most individuals over 40 face, so
Well,
that they can, so that they can optimize their health and well-being?
for sure. Well, I think we'll quickly touch on some of the physiologic challenges that you mentioned, and then we'll get into more of like the just general life setup challenges. Like physiologically, for men and for women, hormones are changing a lot in the fourth and fifth decades of life. Men tend to have that more gradual, slow decrease of testosterone levels, but like, let's be honest, there is an epidemic of low T for guys. And
Yes.
and it is not just because the male body naturally decreases testosterone gradually. Like it's accelerating. And it's accelerating because of plastics in the environment, endocrine disruptors, phthalates, stress. People have dysregulated circadian rhythms now. Like there are many, many factors that are leading to low T in men. This is why like the number of people in their 30s and even sometimes in their 20s who are presenting with low testosterone on lab work and seeking TRT is astonishing. This was not this way 50 to 100 years ago. Like we have the data, even on testicular size, as well as serum testosterone concentrations. And so there's a lot of factors going on. So for men, certainly we have the testosterone decline. We all know too, it's like the metabolism changes, and that's independent of muscle mass, although we will mention that a little bit. It's just like metabolism slows down as we age. Your ability to eat that much food slows down. Like you can call it like digestive fire, if you will. Recovery times tend to increase from exercise. Joints often are achier from old injuries, and just because there's not as much blood flow and circulation. And let alone if you spent your 30s busting your butt or really not sleeping and taking care of yourself well, those problems start to manifest more in your 40s and certainly in your 50s. So we're almost always in the present moment, laying down the track of what we're going to experience and reap 5-10 years from now in terms of what actually expresses symptomatically. The other thing is the muscle mass. I think a lot of people used to be athletic and competitive when they were playing sports or in younger years. And that's natural. But when we get into this inactivity state, right, what happens is we do lose our muscle mass. That is our metabolic engine. So you simply just cannot eat the same calories you did when you were younger without, gaining weight to a certain extent. And when we do strength train, as we will likely talk about in this conversation, it changes the ways the muscles work metabolically. They become sponges for glucose. You become more insulin sensitive. So maintaining your muscle mass and strength training, I think, is more important for people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s than it even is for people in their 20s. For women, like the bone density things are just massive, and certainly the metabolic benefits of those types of exercise. So yeah, it's clear we have physical changes that are happening, and they become more pronounced right around 40, and they get even more intense in the 50s and 60s if we don't implement, the right kinds of habits and lifestyles, because a lot of this can be completely offset. There are ways through particular nutrients and training styles where we can activate these longevity genes, these sirtuins. We can change hormone profiles. Like we can activate this internal fountain of youth, but we have to take action. We have to do new things. We just don't have the resilience of youth on our side where we can make bad decisions and still be okay. It
I
just
love
becomes
that.
the margin of error is just smaller, right? And so
Yeah. And
that's
I just love that you said we have to take action. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's perfect. It is. We have to take
Yeah.
action for sure, and understand why it's important as well, because the next part of it that's unique over 40 is oftentimes this means for many of us, we're in perhaps the busiest part of our careers as well as the busiest part of our families, and this means that we have more pressures than ever to make it so that people say things like, oh, I just don't have the time to exercise, or I'm too tired to do this, or I just can't fit this in here, XYZ. Or it can just say, I have more important things to think about and worry about than taking care of myself. I'll just put myself on the back burner because I want to be there for my spouse, for my job, to provide, et cetera. And that was the mistake that my dad did. And I think that comes from a fundamental mental error where people tend to believe that their health, fitness, and nutrition is something separate than the rest of their life. It's something that you will, quote unquote, get to when you have time.
And
It's
also
like if you,
too, the human body is so great at repairing itself, but it just doesn't repair as well as it gets older. So they
exactly right.
become, they just become used to the body being okay.
Yeah, used to being okay, used to aches and pains just being
Mm-hmm.
there. So there's an acceptance aspect too. And then like when you haven't felt good in a long time, as you're alluding to too, it's just kind of like becomes your new normal. And then when you look around and you see that this is affecting like the majority of people around you, your friends, your family members, you're like, oh, maybe this is just how it is. But it's not how it has to be. It is how it is when we're caught up in the cultural tide and the real pressures of a very busy life and the demands. And I suppose if I'm a messenger for everything and anything, it's that we can have it all. Look, you still have to eat food. I can show you how to make it healthier while still being time convenient. Actually, the effective exercise after age 40 doesn't need to take a ton of time. And we can have
Right.
20 to 30 minute sessions a few times per week for the proper kind of training, can give you a metabolic benefit for the entire week, and you could build muscle. So like busy people can fit it in. It's just the other thing is like overwhelm, right? Had to figure all this stuff out on your own is a lot of cognitive effort. We're dedicating a lot of our mental and emotional capacity to other things in life. So there's even just that hurdle, let alone the guilt and the shame of like having tried weight loss attempts in the past. Many people don't even believe in themselves that this is possible. So we've set the
Good point.
stage,
Good
right?
point.
The deck is stacked in a very challenging way. And that's why so many people are struggling. But I can say confidently, having run so many people successfully through weight loss transformations, that it can be done. There just needs to be a very strategic process.
So to expand on like the strategic process, especially for someone who's listening and they have everything that you just mentioned, including like the overwhelmed and not enough time, what are like the first steps that you throw out there to get these people moving in the right direction?
For sure. Well, I mean, I think we all realize now that like the mental aspect of adhering to a weight loss plan is honestly probably far more important than knowing what this kind of carb contains versus that kind of carb contains, because our ability to stick to something long term is what health and fitness is. You can't just like be good for a day. You can't just do one workout and you win the game. You have
Mm-hmm.
to iteratively eat good foods over a long period of time. You need to build habits that don't need to be perfect. They just need to be good and create a trend line in a direction. And a lot of people are caught up in the all or nothing mindset. I need to be
Right.
perfectly on the plan or off the plan. And a lot of people are, quite frankly, starting unsustainable plans from day one, stuff that tends to be far too restrictive so that it honestly has an expiration date from the first day. Like, I'm for certain things for health benefits, but if you think you're going to follow that super, super restrictive diet for a long period of time, like you're not building any habit momentum with that. You're going to create some short-term change, but you're going to need to pay for that a little bit later. So the mindset of sustainability is key from day one, but also like the idea of feeling motivated is key. And like I think it's important for us to understand like where that feeling comes from. It is a feeling of having some clarity, some alignment, and proper neurochemistry. And when it comes to a weight loss journey, to both initiate it and then sustain it, it is everything to achieve this level of internal alignment. Because I like to use this analogy. I'm not sure if you both are familiar. It's from a change psychologist by the name of Jonathan Haidt. He has his analogy said, anytime we want to change something, we need to view ourselves as an elephant, a rider in the path. Have you heard of this?
I have not.
No, vaguely, maybe, yes.
Okay, cool. So this is cool because it actually mirrors actually parts of our brain and our psyche and how it works. So we have imagine a giant elephant and a little rider on top, and then a path. And they have a goal. Let's say the goal is for them to lose 50 pounds. They want to do that together. At least that's the rider's goal. He wants to lose 50 pounds. The rider is like our prefrontal cortex. It's like the area of our brain that is logical and rational and has lots of great and lofty thoughts and can process information and can set a target. And it's one thing for many of us to say January 1st New Year's resolutions. That's the rider saying, I want to achieve this. The elephant is so much more powerful than the rider. You know, maybe not have the full scope of intelligence and analytical capacity, but the elephant is strong. And if the elephant doesn't want to go somewhere, rider's out of luck. The elephant is like our deeper limbic brain. These are areas of our brain that we share with many other creatures. And this is where a lot of our motivations, our memories, and our fears are processed. This is largely a seat of a lot of our subconscious programming, which is inherently tied to our nutrition behaviors and our resistance or excitement for exercise. The elephant needs to get aligned on a weight loss journey. And I'll tell you how that happens, but needs to be aligned from day number one. And this is a huge piece that people miss, because if you don't get the elephant aligned, what ends up happening is the rider can direct you for maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But the second there's some amount of measurable friction, some serious stuff, pressures at work, kids do some crazy stuff, like whatever it is that starts to just knock that rider a little bit off his thing, and the elephant starts to get scared or doesn't feel fully aligned, the elephant stops moving and the show's not going to go. And then the final part of the analogy is the path. That's like how you're walking. And for the elephant and the rider to do well, it's ideal to have a path that's well groomed, doesn't have a lot of rocks and trees, and is just like is a nice path. And that path is your home environment. That path are your closest family relationships. That path is like basically your psychosocial, physical environment. And insofar as we can shape the path, we can make the walking easier. So weight loss is all about like working in those three domains. And this is, again, mapped to exact areas of the brain. And so we need to give the rider a clear plan. This is what we're going to do, and this is why it's important. He needs a plan that is simple on the nutrition, the exercise, the sleep restoration, sure. And then we need to get the elephant very, very aligned from day one. And the way we do that, and this is what we do in our Fit Father and Fit Mother programs. So before anyone reads a meal plan or gets into any of the workout videos, we have them go through a journaling, reflection, deep thing that culminates in them writing a mission statement. And the goal of this is to get that deep limbic brain to form new neural associations. And what we have people do is effectively write down what their core values are, the things they care about most in their life. And it might be things like my family, finances, God, my integrity, pursuing my hobbies and having fun. These might be core values for somebody. And then we have them really analyze with a lot of self-awareness how their current behaviors are either supporting or harming all of those different core values. Like, how is how you're currently eating affecting your ability to show up at work and make money? Well, I realize I'm tired for 2 hours a day. I feel a lot of brain fog. And I know if I could just perform a little better or be a little more clear, I'd be able to be more productive. And how are your current health habits affecting your relationship with your spouse or your kids? Well, it's kind of clear that my kids are kind of mirroring my bad behaviors. You know, my son's a little overweight and my daughter is not sleeping very well right now and has a lot of anxiety. And I think they're modeling my behaviors and seeing that. Well, how is it showing up with your walk with God or your spiritual sense of alignment? Well, I know there's this higher path that I want to be walking on, but I'm not aligned with it. So this is a process of internal dialogue and journaling and reflection that is so key, because although it may seem a little superficial, we're just doing this. What we're doing is actually getting into that limbic, more subconscious aspect of the brain. And we're showing that we are not on a good path, elephant. And in fact, if we want to be on a better path, we're going to get on a path that's aligned with the stuff that we actually deeply care about. And then we're collapsing down health and fitness as something separate to your life. And we're making it just how you start to live. And we still need to get into the dojo and get the reps in. But this collapsing psychological process of aligning elephant and rider gives us this emotive power to actually get started, because weight loss requires tremendous initiation energy. It's like launching a rocket. You need a lot of fuel to get going. It gets easier the further you go out down the journey. And the fuel comes from this deep reflection.
That is amazing what you just said. Thank you for sharing that. I know that, because a lot of people need it broken down and they need an analogy such as that to really understand it better. So you're speaking about nutrition within this journey, if you will. And how does, in your opinion, does it differ for everybody? Or is it just, do you provide like one general way? Do you work, do you customize their nutrition?
Here's how we approach nutrition inside our meal plans is we believe that nutrition, before talking about like foods or diet adherence, is first all about structure. Because the only nutrition plan that actually matters is the one you can stick to and the one that fits into your life without a lot of friction. If I give you a plan that's like super optimal, but it creates a lot of friction and it's hard to pull off, you're just not going to do it long term. So we believe in starting with like schedule-based meal plans. So some people will find that they're not hungry in the morning and they're fine to do an intermittent fasting kind of framework. Some people find that in their lives, the whole family has breakfast in the morning. So having breakfast at 7, lunch at noon, snack at 3, dinner at 6 is optimal. Some people might work the night shift or the third shift, and they need to have a plan that's around that. But the key thing with nutrition is not exactly just foods, but making it proactive. Because when people are off their nutrition, they're eating reactively. They're eating things just out of an emotional trigger or because of boredom or because of stress. But when you can make nutrition proactive, that's the scaffolding that then we build the foods onto. And so let's say, for example, that we'll just say we have someone following a breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner kind of like classic plan, which works for many people. The way we approach nutrition is we believe that we're balancing two underlying forces. We're balancing the force of consistency with the force of variety. we need to be consistent to a certain extent because like it just makes it easy. We have busy lives. We can't just be like making a from scratch meal for most people every time. It's a lot of things to figure out. It can be expensive. But at the same time, if we're just like way too militant about these things, it just loses its flavor. Like food is fun. So we need to have some variety. And the way I've kind of discovered, and a lot of people in our programs find me very well, is it's important to be consistent early in the day and have go-to meals for your meal number one, and maybe lunch if you have lunch as well, and then have variety and save that for dinner. So a go-to meal for our fit fathers and our fit mothers may look like a couple different things. It could look like a power protein smoothie of some sort that has a really high quality protein powder of one's choice. And I think this is where it becomes individual, right? Some people may tolerate dairy and feel fine, so they could use a whey protein. Other people may prefer plant-based. They use a plant-based like I personally do. But protein, let's just say you have some blueberries, some hemp seeds and chia seeds, some cacao powder, maybe some greens mixed in there, a super greens powder and some almond milk, maybe a little MCT oil, and you blend that thing up there. That has
Perfection.
minerals. Right. Minerals, vitamins, omega-3s, fats, protein, fiber. It's going to keep you full. It takes 5 minutes, not a lot of digestive stress. So like that is something, if you just had a best in slot breakfast like that, you removed a third of your decision points. You're creating positive habit momentum every day. You could blend that up, even if you're super busy, and it honestly tastes delicious. You make a right kind of protein shake, they taste great, but it doesn't have to be shakes. It could be some kind of egg-based recipe. You get some high quality pastured eggs that have those nice yolks, and you get a couple of those with an avocado or a side of some kind of fruit or berries. Like, I'm a believer in natural foods. I'm not a believer that we all need to completely restrict carbohydrates. Like, I guess I wouldn't call myself in a super ketogenic camp. At least is how I've grown up to define keto as like a very, very low carbohydrate diet. That definition has gotten a lot looser over the past few years with the popularity of it. But like, I'm a believer that you can eat fruits and vegetables and nuts and fish and steak and things. But I also believe you can do it completely vegetarian. I guess I have a balanced macronutrient approach. So for breakfast, the breakfast I described is a lower carb shake that still has carbohydrates. The macros of that were probably around 25 grams of fat, 35, 40 grams of protein, and maybe 30 grams of carbs at most. So
That's
it's like a
funny
balanced
that
macro approach.
what you described as a shake, I do in my yogurt.
There you go.
I literally put whey protein powder in my yogurt to bump up the protein.
Awesome,
But,
right?
yeah, and it tastes delicious.
Yes, it so does. You could also do overnight oats in the morning if you're following vegan, vegetarian, and you could throw hemp seeds, chia seeds, some good stuff in there. But get a go-to standardized meal number one for many reasons. And I think meal number one, again, easy to digest, very quick and convenient, has a lot of vitamins, minerals, and micronutrients. Like, that's a time to get your micronutrients in, the vitamins, minerals, not just the calories. Because no matter what happens later in the day, you can say to yourself, this is good. I'm fueling myself with stuff to help me kick off my day well. Because the fact is this: nutrition in our lives are a lot about energy and momentum management. And when we have a good morning, if we have a good breakfast and we're feeling great, it's a lot more likely we're going to have a healthy dinner. And the converse is also true. If we the beginning of the day is off the back foot, it's reactive, we skipped a meal, we drank too much coffee, we're feeling stressed, the likelihood that we're going to snack later on the evening goes up, 50-fold. So it's always about shifting momentum. And let's also say you actually, quote unquote, blew it last night. You went out and you said you were going to eat well, but you ordered the pizza and you had a glass of wine or a beer or something, and
and then you didn't sleep on top of that.
Right. Then you don't sleep. Well, the beautiful thing is standardized meal number one gives you a chance to shift that momentum right back there immediately. Because it's okay that happened once. It's okay that it didn't go right today. But if you allow that same momentum to bleed into a full week or a full month or a full several years, now you're in trouble. It's like flying an airplane is a lot like nutrition. It's constant drifts and constant course direction. So standardized meal one is great for that. Now, for a lunch, because I like to make it practical and I work with busy parents, it's like protein on salads. You can get that anywhere. It could be getting a high quality bread, like a sprouted Ezekiel bread, organic sourdough, a gluten-free bread if someone likes that's actually good. You can put different kinds of proteins on there. You can make a healthy sandwich. We literally have tens of thousands of people eating sandwiches and in their 50s, 60s, and they have abs. It's not like these things can't be in your plan, but quality of ingredients matters tremendously when you're when you're talking about proteins and different kinds of grains, I am a big believer in organic, especially with these grains that are sprayed with certain kind of pesticides that we know wreck our gut microbiome, can cause leaky gut and inflammatory issues. So it's like, there's a big difference.
Weight gain. Yeah.
Right. Big difference between eating organic wheat and sprouted wheat versus like non-organic stuff. So if you can slot in better in class items, it's not like you have to completely change the things that you like. And I guess for dinner, the framework we teach is building a perfect plate. So imagine a blank plate of food. You fill half that plate with some kind of fibrous veggie you love. Could be asparagus, broccoli, could be a salad, some kind of squash, something like that. You fill a quarter of your plate with some kind of protein you love. This could be animal proteins, or it could be plant-based proteins. And a final quarter you can fill with some healthy carbs, healthy fats, or both. So this is why many of our members still have rice. They still have sweet potatoes, yams. They still have pastas of certain kinds. And I think it's for each of us to figure out what exactly works well with our bodies. And this is where the individuality comes in. We all have unique food sensitivities. We all have different ethnic backgrounds and preferences. And so the nutrition plan that's going to work best for you, Dr. Lori, is going to be slightly different than me. That's slightly different than Omar. So we have to kind of come in and find what our go-tos are in those areas, and also what works with our families and our partners. So it's a practice, but it's revealed over time. And as we get more consistent and dial into what works best for us, that's where sustainability is. It's not following some influencer's
it becomes
plan.
so easy.
It's your plan, right? So that's, I guess, nutrition in a nutshell. And then the other thing, we're huge believers in finding go-to snacks, non-processed snacks, nuts, jerkies, shakes, a couple bars that are quality, are all very good things. And those are nice through lines you can take when you travel and you're on the go. So, because like a lot of people do get in trouble with that big gap between lunch and dinner, the noon or 11 until 6, and they go into dinner starving and eat the wrong kinds of food. So, a snack can be a good, nice buffer in there. But I'm also a believer in not eating too many small meals too frequently. I believe that we should eat, allow the digestive process to happen. Blood sugar rises, gets stabilized, insulin does its thing, goes back to baseline, and then we can just get back to like good functioning. So we're not meant to be fed all the time. I'm a fan of intermittent fasting. I don't think people need to do it every single day, but even if it's a 24-hour fast once per week, or if you want to reap the benefits of longer fasts, like multi-day fasts a couple times per year, we're getting our bodies into that deeply catabolic state for all the autophagy and stuff like that is just super, super helpful for our bodies. So nutrition is a self journey, but the only way you can start is by getting that habit momentum like we've kind of talked about.
Dr. Anthony, are you a person who has at least something that you would absolutely say that we should not partake in, it being that a type of food, a type of lifestyle, any restrictions as far as you're concerned that we should definitely avoid?
Yeah, I mean, like if you want to raise every disease risk possible, smoke things. I think this comes down to smoking or vaping, like that's just like straight up not compatible with a long, healthy life. When it comes to food, anything with like a lot of processed sugar and often comes around with food coloring, if there's that combination there, brutal. I personally wouldn't touch like non-organic like grains, like non-organic wheat. And again, the things that are sprayed with these pesticides are bad. And then things that are filled with like low quality oils, corn oil, soy oil, like we're going to hear more about these seed oils being super inflammatory, and they just straight up are.
There's
Fried
so many people that
go
are just against even hearing that.
Yeah.
When I put something out on social media about them, I get such backlash about it. But it's important for people to know. I'm just the messenger.
Exactly. And I mean, the truth sometimes hurts, right? And this is why nutrition is also deeply personal, because these are our comfort foods. These are our protection mechanisms. And I guess the price that we pay to clinging on to those is like early disease. And just look at like the rise in the incidence, not just of hormonal decline, but like Alzheimer's and dementia. Like they're calling Alzheimer's and dementia like type 4 diabetes or type 3 diabetes. It's like effectively we have glycated tissues from high blood sugar, and plaques are being laid down, and we're basically just like eating ourselves, intoxifying our brains to death. Like the price is severe for you and your family. And so it's important to get this stuff nailed down. I don't drink sugary drinks. I think I'm a big believer in drinks can mess you up. It's a good idea to drink mostly herbal teas, water, maybe some kombucha on occasion. I personally don't do dairy. I find that is inflammatory for me, but there's some people that can do dairy. just fine. And I think this is where there's an ethnic genetic background that makes more people susceptible to certain things and other things. Like if you're a European, you might have a lot more tolerance than if you're Asian and you don't have a long history of eating of cow's milk in your diet. So we must figure this out. And I guess a point that comes up with that on a nutrition journey to figure it out is pay attention to the telltale signs of your body when you're eating foods that you're not well. If your poops or you're having digestive issues, bloating, gas, and your poops are not well formed, easy to get out with like kind of minimal wiping, then there's probably some degree of inflammation happening. It's directly related to things you're putting in your mouth, as well as when you eat foods and you find you have like a histamine reaction, mucus will be produced. You find that you're clearing your throat. And many of us have these experiences. This is your immune system saying, we just encountered something that we believe is a foreign protein that we're not excited about. So we're going to create some mucus to try to bind it up. Foods are major allergens for many of us, and we got to figure out what those are. Wheat, corn, soy, dairy, are some of the main ones. I know for me, it's dairy and wheat are the ones I need to tread carefully around. But that's not to say I never have like pizza, right? Which would be the wheat dairy bomb. That's absolutely delicious. It's just so occasional for me. It's once in a while. It's on a scheduled free meal. It's out with friends and family. It's just not coming into my default mode.
Right. It's so easy to go to that default, for most people it is. But then you get in the habit when you start seeing your health choices pay off and down the road, it's a journey, if you will. It just takes time.
It is time and grace and the willingness to begin every day anew, to try to do better. And I'd say put off the all or nothing mindset, put off the idea of there's a perfect day. Just try to do a little bit better every day. And I think that starts off with nutrition is the scaffolding. Like the cool thing is for busy parents is like, you do not need to exercise to lose weight. You do need to exercise if you want a very fit, strong body that like looks strong and you have good muscular endurance and it's beneficial. But like, if you literally just walk, drink a lot of quality fluids and eat right, you can lose a lot of weight. We've had people lose 100 pounds with only walking. So, I mean, it's just how it is. The human mechanism is built for daily activity. You look at the centenarians, the people who are living the longest around the world, they're not doing P90X, although they may benefit from high intensity exercise. They're gardening, they're eating natural foods, they're out in sunshine, they have good community relationships, and they're not stressed out all the time. That's the through line.
Dr. Anthony, just tons of excellent advice. I really appreciate you jumping on the show today. So I want to give you an opportunity to get to audience to know where to check out your stuff, your website, your social media handles, any way that they can keep on following your great advice and how they can get in touch with you and join these projects that you're working on.
Well, I got to say, first off, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you guys letting me come on. I know I basically ranted for the time we were on here. And so thanks for the space to to share my passion. I know that was
great.
Evident. There's definitely not a rant.
Cool. So as I mentioned in the beginning, Fit Father Project and Fit Mother Project are our two programs, our men's program and our women's program, respectively. The websites are just fitfatherproject.com or fitmotherproject.com. You can also search on Google. And the YouTube channels are another great place to check out as well. Across the two YouTube channels, we have over 500 videos. So lots of good stuff that you can dive deep on if you enjoy listening to me speak about these different topics or you want to drill deeper. And the other thing that's cool is on our websites, we actually have like a full laid out day of eating as we recommend, our free meal plan and workouts, and we'll send those straight to your email. We have that for our men over 40 and women over 40. So if you enter email, we send you like the full meal plan, and our 24-minute workout that we recommend is the kind of like metabolic resistance training style exercise that combines strength, cardio, and flexibility all in one. That's how we recommend people over 40 train, joint friendly, very time efficient. We send that to you as well. So appreciate you guys. Fit Father Project, Fit Mother Project on YouTube, Google, and direct search. And that's where you can connect with me more and see what we're up to.
Love it.
That sounds great. It really does. Well, we've loved having you today, Dr. Anthony. Thank you.
Thanks both.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of This Podcast Burns Fat. We're so excited to have you as a listener, and we're hoping that you've really enjoyed the content as well. And if you did, please run over to iTunes and provide a rating and or review. It will go a long way in helping us continuously build our listenership up so that we can provide you with excellent content regarding fat loss, weight management, and just an overall healthy lifestyle. Thanks so much. Have a great night.